This video is about my first analysis on Neuvillette's kit. We've already gotten full information about his passives, so I've been able to start my theory crafting with him, and let me tell you, he looks very interesting. Of course, this is all preliminary, as I haven't had the material time to really look into all the different possibilities for him, but at the very least I hope this will serve as resourceful initial information for you all. Doing theory crafting about leaks is very hard, so if you enjoy my work, make sure to subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you haven't done it already. The first important thing to note about Neuvillette is that it's a Hydro on-field character, but not of the same kind of the ones we've gotten in the past. Unlike characters like Child and Ayato, Neuvillette primarily focuses on dealing damage, so Xion Link won't be getting a new slave to enable her. This is a quite new scenario for the Hydro archetype in general, since Hydro units have historically had lower scalings than others to balance their kits. The reason is that their application is just dominant for elemental reaction purposes. Basically, Neuvillette goes the complete opposite direction of anything we've seen from Hydro in the past, and by itself this is very exciting. But how does he deal this damage? The answer is his charge attacks that have special mechanics. Just like some bow users, Neuvillette has a special charge attack level which will be activated if you hold the charge attack button for longer than usual. This second charge attack level will deal continuous HP scaling damage to opponents at the expense of Neuvillette's HP. This type of charge attack normally lasts for 4 seconds and will consume 8% of Neuvillette's maximum HP every 0.5 seconds. Once he falls below 50% HP, the charge attack will stop. Seems pretty limiting, but he has the tools to fix this issue in his kit as well. In fact, he is able to create droplets that will restore his HP and make his charge attacks faster. These droplets are created through his elemental skill and burst usage, abilities that are mostly useful because of this element alone. In particular, the skill will create 3 droplets, and the burst will create 6. But don't worry, you won't have to move around and pick the droplets up, as Neuvillette's charge attack will seemingly absorb 3 right away on cast, which will cumulatively heal him by 48% and allow him to use a charge attack for the entire possible duration. Naturally, since the charge attack is the core of his damage, Neuvillette's passives also focus on amplifying it. Specifically, his first passive is the most important, as it will increase Neuvillette's charge attack multiplier by a specific amount up to 3 times, based on how many reactions have been triggered by his teammates within the last 30 seconds. Only a few types of reactions work, and each reaction type can only count for 1 stat, so this is a defining aspect for his team building choices. Note that this passive exact effect isn't clear yet. It could be a simple damage bonus too, but the way it's worded reminds me of Wanderer and Yoimiya's elemental skills, which directly increase their talent level multipliers. The second passive simply increases his Hydro damage bonus depending on his current HP. Since he sacrifices HP while using this charge attack, that means he will lose a chunk of his Hydro damage bonus during his attacks if he doesn't have a strong healer supporting him. Still, this doesn't necessarily mean he needs one to function, as this second passive is not relevant enough that he will lose a big portion of his damage if it's not fully activated. As a whole, the first passive will propel Neuvillette's charge attack multipliers into a pretty much unprecedented range for a basic attack, making each charge attack of his more reminiscing of a huge burst nuke than a simple attack you can use at will. This is balanced out by 2 aspects. First, his actual burst and skill are pretty weak in comparison, as they're simple damage abilities, whose only peculiar characteristic is the droplet creation. Second, he has several team building issues, so let's see them. The first thing about his teams is handling the energy recharge issues. He has a 70 energy cost burst that he needs to use in order to create droplets and keep his charge attack damage going, so he will need the burst every rotation. However, his skill has relatively low particle generation given the cooldown it has, so his energy recharge requirements will potentially be very high if the right countermeasures aren't taken. What are these countermeasures though? There are 2 I can think of at the moment. The obvious one is using a second Hydra on the team. However, not only this won't allow you to fully activate his reaction-based passive, but also there aren't Hydra units he perfectly synergizes with in the game as of now. In particular, him not using normal attacks for his damage windows makes him unable to drive the strongest Hydra off-field units we have right now, making his team choices all the more restricted. This takes us to the second countermeasure, which I like more. If the skill cooldown is too low to fit short rotation perfectly, then you simply have to stretch it to make two skill usages fit in. This is something Neuvillette can do without particular damage loss, because a second skill use will also allow him to use a second charge attack. This is a virtue of not being tied to any particular support to deal damage. This possibility makes characters who like long rotations, so Fischl for example, much more useful for him as a result. Here is a possible team composition then. Of course, a must-have for him would be Kazuha. Not only he's an obvious pick because of his anemo typing, which allows him to activate resistance reduction effects through the Viridescent Veneer set, but also is legitimately the only character in the game that can buff Neuvillette in a significant manner. Furthermore, his capability to easily reactivate his buffs during the rotation makes him very flexible, and exactly what Neuvillettes need in long rotations. The second must-have pick on his team is a shielder. During his charge attacks, Neuvillette has no interruption resistance, meaning he will be exposed for the 3 seconds it lasts. This is higher shielder dependency than characters like Ganyu, since both charge attack users don't take as long as Neuvillette to fire a charge attack shot. Zhongli would be a quite obvious pick, with the Petra artifact set being a possibly interesting choice for him here, but a character like Layla could also do very well, because she has a very strong and unconditional shield, will freeze opponents, and has a Constellation 4 that increases charge attack damage. The last slot is the only one that is free to choose. As of right now, the best one I can think of is Fischl, since she's a very self-sufficient character that will contribute to the activation on Neuvillette's elemental reaction based passive. While she won't be getting Constellation 6 procs on this team due to no normal attacks, being able to use odds twice per rotation more than makes up for it. At a glance, however, this might look like a pretty scuffed composition, since people are accustomed to surround carries with incredible buffs for them to deal any damage. You see, here is the thing about Neuvillettes, he's just built different, literally. Compared to traditional characters that have access to these buffs, his base damage is way higher, and this just allows you to focus on surrounding him with the comfort options he needs without losing particular team damage. Frankly, the damage he's capable to deal with a shielder on team is nothing short of amazing, one of the highest I've ever seen in this game. Since he doesn't need particular buffs, that also means he has interesting potential on teams where he won't get any, like Nidubloom, but I'll save this deeper level of team analysis for future videos. As a whole, Neuvillette is extremely interesting and impressive. Not only he revolutionizes the role of a Hydra fielder, but he does that while looking quite promising from a personal damage standpoint and unique from a team building standpoint. Let's just hope he won't get nerfed.